Welcome to the Can't Commit to a Book Club, the interview version with executive producer Johna. I got the incredible opportunity to talk to USA Today bestselling author Pippa Grant about her new book and all of the book shenanigans. I hope you guys enjoy.
Hi, I'm Pippa. I'm a slight bit of a hot mess, and we just run with that.
It's okay. I'm Johna. I'm also a slight bit of a hot mess, so it's
Yay!
fine. You're in good company.
We're gonna be great friends. I love this.
Oh man, to be perfectly transparent, you're like one of my first author interviews that I've ever done. I have author Pippa Grant here with me on the Can't Commit to a Book Club with executive producer Johna, sponsored by the KJ Today Show. Pippa, thank you so much for talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
I love your bookshelves behind you. They're so pretty.
Thank you. Thank you. We got
Color-coordinated
to
stuff.
move into our dream home a year ago, and I got an office that came with built-in bookshelves and was like, let's have some fun with these. So they're
dream.
slightly messy and they
That's
have a
okay.
lot of books on them, which is like exactly how I like them.
That's exactly what I would expect of any author. Like, to look into their office, I'd be like, it's just books everywhere. Honestly, the fact that they're on shelves is great, because if it were me, they'd be all over the floor, on top of like my refrigerator. I'd be like, I don't know where it's at. It's in this house somewhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right. Since you are a USA Today bestselling author, what does that feel like? How does that feel to have that accomplishment, that thing that's right before your name?
It's so weird. It's so weird because when I was like 8 years old when I decided I wanted to write books, right? But writing books for a living is just that thing that like you do on the side because you're not going to be successful at it, because we're just going to be pragmatic and practical about this. And that's really cute. At your head, oh, you have dreams. So just having like successes like that just blows me away. And like the hitting number one on Amazon, I think hit me more than the USA Today list did, because the USA Today list, you've got your pre-order numbers coming up and you can see how they're doing, and you start to get a feel like, could I make it? Could I not make it? Like, how are we doing? And so by the time the list was released, like I'd had that moment already where I was like, I gave it my all. I did everything. I know my numbers are solid. And so that was almost like, yep, check that box because I could. But like number one on Amazon feels like there are just so many more variables outside of your control. Because if you launch when like Jenny Han has a series taking off on, is it Hulu, Netflix, or Amazon?
It's Amazon Prime.
It's streaming, right?
Yeah.
It's streaming somewhere, and the movies are a massive hit, and the books are shooting back up the top of the charts, and you just never know. Like, when's Julia Quinn's Bridgerton coming back again, and what's that going to do for the charts? You hit the wrong week, and it doesn't matter how well you're doing. You're not going to hit that number one spot, and it's just always felt unattainable, and something other people did. The 2 times I hit, I've cried. Like ugly tears.
That's okay. That's okay. That's a really big accomplishment. That if it was me, I would be sobbing. Like you would never get me to shut up about it. I would have bought myself a whole like sheet cake. Take it to work and be like, look at me now.
Yeah, for sure. We should celebrate our wins. I think people should celebrate every time they do something that's awesome and amazing, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Or where you're at.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Sometimes we just need to celebrate the fact that it's Friday.
I know. As soon as 5 o'clock hit and I hit that clock out button, I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
All right. So I've been reading and I keep getting all these conflicting numbers. So I'm going to say you've written about 60 books.
About 40.
Plus. 40, really?
So I have like 60 listed on my Amazon page, and I think it's translations. I think foreign translations are what's bumping that number up, and like old paperback versions and things like that. But yeah, I realized I had a release this week, and it's technically number 40 for me. I was like, whoa!
Man, I'm just gonna stop using the internet.
No, I think AI is messing with everything. If you're like, tell me about Pippa Grant, AI is gonna be like, Pippa Grant was a piglet, born and raised in Manitoba, Canada. And now she writes poems on the back of stuffed animals.
Wow, that is a lot of talent right there. To write on the back of stuff. It's very hard to write on the back of stuffed animals because they're furry.
It's true. That's difficult. So true. I've signed a couple, and it's hard with the fur. You are not wrong.
I'd be like, PG, done. Since you have written so many books, and it seems like a lot of series. which book or series is your favorite out of all the ones that you've done?
Oh, that's hard.
No.
That's hard. Okay. So I'm going to go to the Copper Valley Fireballs series as
Okay.
my favorite. And my reason is I grew up playing softball and watching the Cubs religiously. Like, I learned to read by reading the sports pages to see how the Cubs had done the night before. So I had this dream when I started like actually getting really deep into writing and realizing that this was going to be my career, that I would write a series of books about baseball's worst team, like the worst team in baseball, Cubs fans. And I did. I was like, I want them to be lovable losers, and I want there to be like, I was actually going to title the books things that would have not, that would have gotten them censored on Amazon. But being able to write a series of books about the lovable losers in baseball, just like it made my heart. I love the book that launched the series because it, like baseball players, to me, one of the things I love the most is just the superstitions. And even growing up watching baseball, it was like somebody has to go to the bathroom so that the player will hit a home run, or so that we'll score a run, or like you can't be wearing the wrong shirt. And I just loved that. So I seriously leaned into the superstitions for the first book. And by the fourth book, the hero was so wildly anticipated because he'd appeared in 9 or 10 different books at that point in time. And
man.
It took me 2.5 years to write his book. And I blame it on him. I say that he just wasn't talking to me and that he was a super difficult character. But I think there was just a level of pressure that I was putting on myself because I didn't want to let anybody down, knowing that over 9 or 10 books where this character had appeared in, there were just huge, massive expectations. So releasing that book felt like such a major win when the reviews started coming in and saying things like, I was really nervous to read this book because my expectations were so big, but man, Pippa just surpassed all of them.
That's awesome.
Massive relief.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, you sprinkle them throughout the books, and then you're like, everyone, is this person going to get their own book? Are they going to get their own book? And he's a man, so he's difficult. So like,
exactly.
But
mind of his own.
Yep. But I'm sure he was just the most lovable man ever. Once you actually got into it, you're like, I love you so much.
Yes. And like total golden retriever of a guy. And the guy who's on the cover is just, he's on Instagram and TikTok, and he has the funniest channel ever. And like, he would be so perfect to play the character. And so to be able to actually put this guy on my cover was just fantastic. I sent him a,
where do you find all these hot men? Okay, that's my question, because you be having some hot men on your covers, and I'm like, where does she find these men at?
Wander's Book Club.
Let me just go sign up for that right now.
Yeah, for sure. No, Wander shoots guys all the time, like pictures. He has a whole like stable of models that he uses, and he gets them in there very regularly. And Sam, who's on the cover of Irresistible Trouble, is one of them that I found through Wander's website. I actually sent a picture of him to Jody and Beth, my assistants, and I was like, do you guys think this guy would work for Cooper? And they went, oh my God, it's Sam. We love him. His TikToks are so funny. I was like, oh, I had to check it out then. And then I found out like the image that I loved was available, and it just felt so like it was meant to be and awesome. So
I love that.
But Wander's a great guy. I've met him a few times at book signings, and he's always just so nice, and he's so funny. I really enjoy getting to run into him and talk to him too.
Wow, that's so fun. That's so fun. I'm so jealous.
Our community is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I just got into like book talk and like all of that stuff, and I've been a reader my whole life, and I've just gotten back into the flow of it with my book club. The book community is very welcoming because everyone get that I've been in a reading slump, or I just have been eating books like just one after the other. And I can imagine it's great for authors too, because you have all of these people who are like, I love you and I love the characters that you write. Like, I can imagine it's amazing. Yeah.
It really is. I went to my first real big signing in November of 2019 in Philadelphia, and then the world shut down. And so it was the fall of 2021 before I went to another one, and just walking in the fall of 21 and feeling the vibe, feeling like all of the love, and being like, these are my people. These people get it. They understand. This is a safe place. Everybody loves each other. Everybody loves all the authors here and all the books. And we're going to have such a great time. It's just, I love it.
Wow. So do you like doing conventions and stuff like that?
I do. I do. I'm taking a couple years off of doing them because life is just, my husband retired from the military a year ago. We moved,
Mhm.
getting our kids settled, and then just a few curveballs here and there. Not to be a downer, I am fine. I had a breast cancer scare this spring and
Oh.
I am so fine. I'm so
Oh,
fine.
I'm so glad that you
But
are.
I like to
That's
be like, I'm okay.
oh no, it's
Um,
fine. This is a
but
safe
like
space.
yeah, I had to have a round of radiation. Get your mammograms. This is my big takeaway. I'm very that big, that big.
Hmm.
They found a very small bit of precancer and they were able to take it out because of early detection, which was just amazing. But just curveballs and things with
Hmm.
scheduling, I'm like, I think this is the universe's way of telling me that I just need to step back and regroup and concentrate on the writing for a while. And
Hmm.
then I can dip my toes back out in a couple years after I've got a kid who's in the middle of high school now. We're not going to have too much longer before I have one less kid in my house.
Gosh, and high
So,
school is so tough. I
yes, it
I can
is.
only imagine how tough it is. It was tough for me when I went 10 years ago, so I can't imagine what it's like now.
Mhm. It's really interesting because I loved high school and my husband thrived in high school. So my son is, it's fine, but this is not where I want to spend my days. And I'm like, oh, oh, like, because I left a very small grade school with only like 13 people in it and went to a public high school where there were
Hmm.
like 500 people in my class. And so it was a lot easier to make friends because the pool of people to choose from
Yeah.
was a lot bigger. And I just hadn't found that special like person that I clicked with enough as like grade school went on. So high school was just an amazing time for me. So having him in a position where he actually went to a smaller school than what he
Hmm.
had been before we moved and just trying to figure out where he fits in without knowing anybody at all going into it. Whereas I knew 3 people when I started high school. So it's been a journey, but he's really done great with it. As as great as he can do for him.
As good as you can do for a
Yeah.
teenager in a new place.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm sure he'll get the
Yep.
hang of it.
I am positive he will. And
He'll
if
be
not,
fine.
he's got not too much longer and then he's going to go off and find his dreams and do amazing things.
Oh, I
So,
love that. Oh,
yeah.
that's great. You seem like such a good mom.
Oh, some days. Not others. But I think like every mom feels like that.
Mhm.
Like, am I doing it right? Am I not doing it? Where am I screwing up? What are they going to talk to their therapist about? Like, did I do my best today?
Look, we do our best every day, and sometimes our best isn't the best, but it's the best that
Yeah.
we had.
Yep.
So I get
Exactly right.
it. Talking about the Julia Quinn and those and Jenny Han and all that stuff, if you had to pick
Yeah.
one of your series to become either like something on a streaming platform,
Yeah.
who would which one would you want?
Oh.
I
Mm.
know.
This is hard.
I
I would
ask the
probably
tough
either
questions.
pick, I know. I would probably either pick the baseball series again, just because I think it would be so much fun
Oh
just
yeah.
to be surrounded by that feel of baseball on the screen too. Or I would pick the trilogy that starts with the worst wedding date. It took me forever to figure out a series name for it, calling it Three BFFs and a Wedding. And I'm this close to done with writing the third book. So the
Ooh.
second book comes out in a month and a half, and then the third book will come out early next year. So it's been a lot of fun.
Oh,
And just being able to do the first book is a destination wedding in Hawaii book. So being able to do a tropical getaway, maybe not in Hawaii right now, we will let Hawaii heal for
yes,
sure, for sure.
absolutely.
Send as much love and support that way as we can. But yeah, just something warm and tropical, destination wedding ish. And
Yeah.
then the second book is set back in the three BFFs, their hometown, which is a small town in Colorado. And I moved like to the Denver area in Colorado. So being in the mountains is just making me very happy.
So life imitating art. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm in Colorado. Maybe I should write
I
about
know.
someone in
That's
Colorado.
exactly right. I feel like such a poser some days. I'm like, I haven't been here long, but
Denver is beautiful. I've been
it
there a
is.
few times. It's
It
very the
is.
mountains gorgeous. I love it
Mhm.
there. If it wasn't so cold and the snow wasn't so unpredictable, I'd probably
Yeah.
live there.
Yeah. Yeah. The snow is fascinating.
I have a friend who lives in Denver and she's always posting pictures like it snowed. I'm like, it's 1,000 degrees over here in Indiana and you got snow out there.
Yes. For real. I have a friend in Mississippi and I've been like, so it's 48 at my house this morning. And she's like, girl, it is already 97. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Colorado is just one of those weird states, man. You don't.
It is. Oh, excuse me.
She's getting
This
choked
is me
up over
being
here,
me.
guys.
I'm gonna choke on my water.
That's okay. I choke on my water literally all the time, so it's totally fine.
It's a method, right?
It's a method to the madness, okay? That's what I tell people. It's fun. It's fun.
For sure.
It's fine. All right. Which book or series was the toughest one for you to write?
Ooh. Oh, toughest. The second book in my 3 BFFs and a wedding series was a hard one that I just finished. And that mostly, I think, has to do with the fact that I got my mammogram in December and I started writing this book in February. And then the follow-up mammogram and the needle biopsy and the diagnosis, like all of that happened while I was writing this book. And I got COVID in the middle of it for the first time too. So,
oh my gosh. So all the things.
All the things.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a harder book to write. It was just all the things around it. It wasn't necessarily the book. Cooper Rock's book, Irresistible Trouble, that fourth book in the Copper Valley Fireballs book series, though, that one was hard. I started it with, I think, 4 different times. He had 2 or 3 different heroines before I finally figured out like who he was actually supposed to be with. So that was hard.
Yeah, I get that. Because you're like, I have a vision of these people in my head, but their chemistry is not jumping out on the page.
Yes. That's exactly right. I was like, this just doesn't fit. This isn't working. So
I get it.
There will be another hard one sometime, but that just means that I'm going to write more books, and I'm okay with that.
Oh no, that is so terrible. I can't wait.
No, everybody's so disappointed. Dang it, she's going to write more books.
Gosh. You mean you need more of my money? My goodness.
Just stop already, Pippa.
Me to every author ever. Because as soon as I get the first book and then they're like, hey, guess what? It's going to be a series. I'm like, why? Why you do this to me?
I know. I just released a book. It's a total standalone and it's going to stay a total standalone. And that is just the weirdest thing ever for me to be like, this one will stand completely on its own. It will never get more. My editor is like, I don't believe you.
If I was your editor, I would also say that. What finally made you take the plunge into being, because you're a full-time writer, right?
I am a full-time writer.
What made you take the plunge into being a full-time writer, but also taking that plunge into, I'm publishing a book and I don't care what anybody has to say about it?
So my writing journey predates the Kindle.
Same.
Yeah, I started writing in 2002 and it was like self-therapy at first. And then I started talking to my husband about what I was doing and he was like, great, how do we get you published? And it was the first time in my life somebody had believed in me as far as, oh yeah, we're going to follow your dreams and we're going to actually make this happen for you. And him believing in me made me believe in me. I spent several years querying agents and editors and I became aware of self-publishing in probably about 2010, 2011. But I didn't want to do it because I wanted that validation from Trad Pub that my work was good enough because I have ridiculous standards for myself. They're like crazy high.
Every writer does.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't want to look back 20 years later and be embarrassed by what I'd put out at first. So in 2012, I was querying a book of my heart. Like it just, I loved it so much. But I write quirky rom-coms, and 2012 was the era of 50 Shades of Grey. So my rejections started coming in from agents, and it said, I love this. This is amazing. This is so fun. But I can't take you on because it's not the next 50 Shades of Grey. And that's all I can take right now. And that was all the validation I needed. I was like, cycles, right? There are so many cycles in publishing. Yeah. It's really fascinating to me how long contemporary romance has really had its heyday because you used to be able to track it with TradPub. It would be like, there would be the rise of the vampires and the fall of the vampires and the rise of chick lit and then the fall of chick lit and the rise of historical romance, right? And it would cycle. And now that self-publishing is a thing, we really see a whole lot more contemporary just holding those charts captive a lot of times. So anyway, that is when I decided to publish, was when I finally was told, you know what, you are good enough. I was like, great, achievement unlocked, let's do this thing. Because I've been studying self-publishing for a long while. I just hadn't been ready for it. And so on October 29th, 2023, no, August 29th, 2023, so almost exactly 10 years ago, I published my first book. And
Wow.
I was a stay-at-home mom to 3 kids. My husband was working full-time in the military, and so I just kept writing while raising my babies and getting them into school. And we moved 3 times. I self-published for the first time right after we moved from Florida to Alabama, and then a year later we moved to DC, and a couple of years later we moved to Ohio. So this is the 4th place I've lived in the last 10 years, and I'm not moving again.
I'm guessing that's military related.
Yeah. He's retired now. We're set. We're settled. We promised the kids no more moves until they are out of school, and then they don't have to move with us if we go anywhere. So when we moved from DC to Ohio is when I had a breaking point in my career, because things were going well, but I wasn't successful enough to justify the time that I was spending away from my family working on my books. And so I took the summer off, and I had a whole lot of deep thinking and a lot of studying the market and a lot of reading books that had been on my Kindle forever that I hadn't had time to read. And I read self-help books, like nonfiction books and books about the market. And I just looked at what was trending. And that's when I got the idea to write Mr. McCarty, which was my first Pippa Grant book. And it just went from there. It just spiraled. I didn't expect it at all. But I kept writing and I kept writing and I kept writing. And my youngest was in preschool by then, so I had more time at home alone. And within about a year and a half, I was finally having, honestly, more success than I ever dreamed of, which still just floors me to this day, because I still feel like that military wife who was running my kids 3 different places so I can get 2 hours to write at Starbucks and hope that I get 3 sales in a day.
Oh.
I've done a little better than that, but I still feel like that's me on the inside.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I still can't some days. I wake up, I took a kid up to meet the bus the other day, and I turned around and I was walking back to my house and I was like, I like this.
Yeah.
I like where I live. This is kind of fun. I'm going to take my tea and I'm going to go back to work and write another chapter.
I love that. That's so cute. I love that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm just a super fangirl all the time. So
I think it's really important to appreciate what I have and to understand that I would not be here if it were not for readers. Readers are superstars to me. They're amazing. So
I love being a reader. Okay. It's fun.
Oh, for sure.
What's something that you do when you get stuck when you're writing?
I take a walk, or I step away from it entirely for a day, or I go back and I revise from the beginning, or I call a friend. Getting stuck is usually a sign that I've taken a left turn somewhere and I need to figure out where that is. So I will, go back to the beginning, figure out where it went wrong. And sometimes it takes me a couple days of thinking. I'm a big thinker. I was walking around my house one day while my husband was working from home during COVID, and he was doing his virtual meetings, and he just sees me pacing by, right? He's, go write a book. And I was like, I am writing a book. I'm doing my thinking part right now.
I got my thinking cap on, okay? Leave me alone.
Right. I have to pace while I'm thinking. I'm sitting on a treadmill desk right now. I've got a lift lower desk with a treadmill underneath it and a little stool that's safe to put on the treadmill. So it helps a lot. Just moving my legs just a little bit while I'm writing, it really helps my process.
I should start doing that, because I usually get stuck and then I'm like, all right, well, I guess we're not finishing this. That's just me. Are you a Hallmark movie fan?
I like Hallmark movies.
Okay.
I haven't watched a whole lot of them. So we got rid of cable when Friends went off the air. And then we turned into Netflix people. And you don't get Hallmark movies on Netflix. But I got a subscription. Lame. I know. So I got a subscription to the Hallmark Channel through Amazon Prime. And I've been watching them. And I'm like, oh, they just make me so happy.
Oh, yeah. I've been watching Hallmark movies and mysteries on Amazon Prime. Totally get it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, life is good.
Yeah. People are like, I can't believe you like the Hallmark Channel. I'm like, have you looked at any book on my bookshelf? If it's a romantic comedy with an HEA, I'm gonna watch it. I don't care.
Yes.
Give me all the misunderstandings and all of the miscommunications and then the love at the end. That's all I want.
I watched 3 in a row a couple weeks ago, and I was like, okay, So every Hallmark movie, the woman has an ex who wants her back.
Or she's already engaged and she goes home to her small town.
Yep, exactly. Or she gets
Absolutely.
amnesia.
They all have the same formula, but they still
They
work.
do.
So like,
Oh, they just make you so happy. This is my happy, safe space. I know that I'm gonna walk away feeling like with just a lighter heart at the end of this.
absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, besides yourself, who are your favorite authors and who would you recommend that readers like myself read?
Oh, I just read When Gracie Met the Grump by Mariana Zapata. And I was like,
she writes great books.
She is one of my happy places. I love her.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Jay Knight writes these series about a pickle family, and they just crack. It sounds out there, but like they own a deli around pickles, and it's just adorable. I love those. My friend Julia Kent is also absolutely hilarious. I love a good Tana Fensky novel. Like, you'll notice some come.
I would expect nothing less.
I can't do horror movies because they give me nightmares. And
Oh my
so I
gosh.
can't read, like, Where the Crawdads Sing is probably the darkest book that I've read in
Oh,
a
man, you
very
read that?
long time.
I
I listened
own it.
to it. I listened to it when I had LASIK and I couldn't open my eyes. So I was just like, all I can do is sit around with my eyes closed and listen to audiobooks. I guess there's nothing else to do.
I listened to Stud in the Stacks on audiobook.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
I loved it. I was like, why is this man just the most lovable person I've ever met in my life?
Oh, I love him so much.
Like, he's such a sweet
why
librarian.
can't all men be like this? Yeah.
Honestly.
Oh, and when all the drama happened in book talk the other day, I was like, Knox needs to make a reappearance and be like, okay, people, let me explain to you why we love romance novels.
Okay.
Especially you men.
Yeah. Men should read romance novels, if nothing than just because they're like, you guys just read it because it's dirty. No, there's actually like plot and there's problems. Like, maybe you guys will learn something about problem solving.
Some emotional maturity here. Thank you.
It works for some people. You just had a book come out.
I just had a book come out.
Not My Kind of Hero.
Not My Kind of Hero. I have it right
here. I love
here.
that cover.
Thank you.
I have to get that. I saw that it came out and I was like, oh, I need to get that. So
I love this book so much. It's got a single mom in it who moves her teenager partway through high school, and they move into a hobby ranch in Wyoming where she's never lived in the West before, but she can figure it out. She's a former reality TV, like fixer-upper sort of star, and her husband divorced her and is now starring with his mistress in a different show. So she's just starting fresh. And I love so much about this book. Like, I think it has the funniest opening I have ever written, ever in my entire life. And that's because I've got one that opens with a glitter bomb that
I love that level of petty. That's my favorite.
I've got one that opens with a meat wax. Like, he walks in on her in his bathroom. She thinks she's renting an Airbnb and it's his house, and she's waxing her lady bits, and he walks in because he doesn't know anybody's in his house because nobody's supposed to be there. Yeah, I call it my meat wax book. So when I tell you, I think this book has the funniest opening of any book I've ever written. Like, it's a pretty hard bar.
Okay, so as soon as we get off here, I'm gonna hop on Amazon and put that in my cart. All right. What do you want to share with the fans about any new things coming out?
Any new things coming out? So Not My Kind of Hero just came out, and I love it, and it's amazing. The second book in the 3 BFFs and a Wedding series is coming out October 5th. That is Sabrina's book. I haven't told anybody any details yet, but it's super fun. There's like a little tease at the very end of the worst wedding date for this book, and then after that will be the third book in the series, and that'll wrap up the trilogy, and that one's going to be a contained trilogy, so it'll be complete in January.
Contained trilogy, she says.
Yep.
All right. And then where can we find you?
I am at pippagrant.com. I am semi-active on TikTok. I have a very active reader group on Facebook called the Pip Squad, and my newsletter, the Pipster Report, which you can find a link
I
on my
love all of
website.
these names. They're great.
We had a little bit of fun naming everything. But my website comes out once a week and you get appearances from previous favorite characters and little life updates from me in there and other things like when my signed paperback store goes open and closed and things like that. So
Nice.
I just have a lot of fun with it because I figure if I'm going to be in your inbox, then I should give you some value for it.
Yes. I'm going to sign up for it just because every time I get on your website, it was like, sign up for the Pipster Report. I was like, I might just because of the name of it.
So I will send, autocorrect is the worst.
Yes.
I'm about to tell you some really funny stuff. Okay, good. No, autocorrect is the worst. So I'll ping my assistants and I'll be like, we need to do the Pipster Report. And it'll be like, we need to do the Hipster Report. And actually usually like they're emailing me to tell me that. I'm not usually emailing them. They're like, they've got it all covered. They've got it under control. But yeah, it corrects like Pipster Report to Hipster Report. It corrects Pippa to Poops. Or sometimes Pips with a PH.
Oh my gosh. That's, oh my goodness.
I know. And then I'm like, it's on brand.
Yeah, that's what we say about our show too. We're like, is it even a show if something doesn't mess up?
Right?
Yeah, it's very on brand. Very, very on brand.
For real.
All right. So we find you at pippagrant.com and Pippa Grant basically anywhere else?
Yeah. If you search for Pippa Grant, sometimes I'm Pippa.Grant. Sometimes I'm like at Read Pippa Grant. Sometimes it's at Pippa Grant Books. Because it turns out that like when you grab handles for everything in like the late 2010s and other people have them. But TikTok, I think Pippa Grant. Or Pippa.Grant. One of the two. I would love if they were all consistent, but consistency is apparently not the name of my game.
I understand that because my name's Johna, like you can see how it's spelled and I'll be like, oh, at Johna or whatever. And they're like, this is tasty. I'm like, who else spells their name like this?
No.
So
it's going to be a whole bunch of like dudes named John A. who don't
literally.
Who don't want to put their full last name.
I'm like, give me my handle.
Yes. Should have that handle. It's your name.
Thank you for coming back and chatting with me.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It was so lovely to meet you and so lovely to chat today.
It was nice to meet you as well. Pippa, thank you so much for joining me for the Can't Commit to a Book Club with all of my technical problems.
Thank you for having me and making me feel like less of a hot mess when I can't even drink my water without choking. So
well, enjoy your pizza and I will talk to you later, okay?
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Johna.
Thanks, Pippa.
Thanks for watching my video, friends. I hope you enjoyed it. I had such a great time talking to Pippa. I could have talked to her forever. If you enjoyed this interview, please comment and let me know what author you think I should interview next. Please make sure you like, review, and subscribe. And make sure you watch the KJ Today Show live on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you, worms. Happy reading.